kind of a surprise presentation, if I get my glasses on. Okay. There is a woman here who is both a producer and a director, social service person, won many awards, and has dignified the women's movement in Pittsburgh by putting together an exhibit that has been on display and is now housed as an exhibit of Western Pennsylvania women who were in the movement back in the 60s and 70s. Patricia Ulbrich, will you come forward, please? Pat has really, she really put it together with the women, and I'm going to have her take 2 minutes and tell you the women that they have done. Come on, come on, come on. Don't be shy. I saw the exhibit one of the first times that it was in play at the convention center, when we had to walk and walk and walk and walk until we saw the videos of the women that they were honoring in that exhibit. It is called In Sisterhood, and this is Pat Ulbrich, who will tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I have a pretty strong voice. Can you hear me? Yeah, I don't need this, thank you. I really don't like mics. There you go. Well, this is a surprise, but let's see if I can do this in 2 minutes. In Sisterhood, the women's movement in Pittsburgh was initially funded by a grant from the Community Connections Initiative, which happened about 15 years ago when they were celebrating the anniversary of the region. And they had a series of grants, and I received one of the grants to my shock, because I boldly claimed that I was going to do a history of the women's movement, which I then proceeded to do. We have interviewed 85 people, some of them men, but mostly women, about their experiences as feminist activists in Pittsburgh, 68 to about 88. And this was a breakthrough community in the country. We had some leading movements, leading issues here, including a successful suit against the
Press.
Not the press, about sex-segregated want ads. So I wanted to honor women who weren't what were considered the leaders in Pittsburgh. But these were the other leaders. These were the radical leaders. And I did, we recorded oral history, sometimes up to 6 hours, with these individuals about their amazing lives, the organizations they started, and the things that they accomplished, and including influencing both Pennsylvania state and the United States women's movement. 3 of women from Pittsburgh were presidents of National Now, which sometimes isn't considered very radical, but it was the main organization. It was an important organization in those days, still is. Anyway, I wanted that information to be available in Pittsburgh. And so I have created an archive. I said, give me your stuff. And I have boxes of memorabilia and records about the women's movement in Pittsburgh. And including, I videotaped the interviews, and all of that will be at the University of Pitt archive, probably starting in the fall. So there will be announcements about that, and you can all, if you're so inclined, go over there and check it out. So thank you, and thank you too.
Okay, BPTV friends, Facebook friends, YouTube friends, I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. I have another great lady and a great guest. Please tell us your name.
Pat Ulbrich.
And I heard you speak, and you inspired me. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were talking about?
I'd be happy to. I'm a sociologist who, when I came to Pittsburgh, was a little
When did you come here?
1991.
My son was born.
Wow. Well, now you
May
know how old I
17th.
am.
He's 34, so
Okay.
you're 35.
Okay.
He came as a baby.
Yeah. I'd always been interested in the women's movement, and I knew there had been a strong women's movement in Pittsburgh.
My friends
and
are Joanne and Bonnie. They're the strongest.
but there was no evidence of it in
Right. Well, they were here, but they
91.
were developing that.
And so I had an opportunity to apply for a grant to recognize what happened in Pittsburgh in the last, basically,
What possessed you to be able to get a grant? Because that's not easy.
I'll tell you.
See, I can ask questions.
The Allegheny County Conference on Community Development
That's a mouthful.
had $100,000 for grants.
Now I know why you were interested. Always follow the money, people, if you don't know. And she followed the money.
And one set of grants was to be inclusive of counties in the region.
Okay.
And the other one would be specifically within Pittsburgh.
Wow,
And
which
the
is
Pitts-
Allegheny County.
Neighborhoods.
Okay.
And they
Glad we clarified that.
they had access to $5,000 grants.
Understand.
And the regional grants were $50,000.
10 times as much.
And I'm going, I'll go for a regional grant.
Yeah, understand. I can understand your angst.
Yeah.
50,000 is better than 5,000, correct?
And actually, I had been in Leadership Pittsburgh, and the director at the time, I was having lunch with her, and she said, Pat, you need to apply for a grant, and this is how you do it.
That's what I had to find out, the secret sauce.
The secret
You
sauce.
have to know how to get it to get one. See, I know
Correct.
that with 501c3s. I know some things.
You do. And so I also needed a fiscal sponsor. So
Okay.
I had to recruit a fiscal sponsor who would manage the
You had
money.
to coerce somebody to back you.
Yes.
Real simply.
I did it. And actually, at the time, it was the Thomas Merton Center, but today it's the YWCA of Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
And-
Thanks for dropping those names because I know them both.
Yeah, and the YW manages all of my money. I don't have to do any of it. Oh, which is wonderful.
You know what? You're so smart. I salute you.
Well,
I'm only a little sarcastic, so you got to put up with it, my friend.
I was clever because after 1 year, I knew I did not want to manage the finances myself, and I couldn't hire anybody to do it.
Yeah.
So the Y was, at that point,
They
very...
can be the conduit there.
Absolutely.
See, how's that for a word?
Yes, it's a good word, conduit. And they had all of the resources in place to do it.
It's all lined up for you. All you got to do is
Yep.
go with your passion. And what
Right.
was your passion then?
My passion was women who had been leaders in the women's movement here in the 1960s and 70s.
Wow.
They were the
That was
champions.
revolutionary.
They were revolutionary, and they did amazing things. And they were primarily college-educated women, some with advanced degrees.
Any flower children?
No,
Okay, just checking.
but the
They
thing
can look
is,
that up.
these were educated women who couldn't get jobs.
Understand.
Who couldn't get jobs at their level.
Well, there were issues to that, and there still are today.
Yeah.
I grew up with three sisters, as they heard me say, 4 of us in 5 years, so I understand. I was the oldest
Oh,
and the tallest. They're all 5 foot tall,
oh my! Ooh,
and I'm 6 foot. So,
Woohoo.
yeah.
you could give them a couple inches.
I was the first one out. I couldn't share.
Oh,
I got it all. Thanks for my humor there. All right, carry on.
and
now.
anyway, so let me just throw out some names. Wilma Scott Heidi
Okay.
was the daughter of a couple living out in West Fayette County,
I know that area.
the poorest town in Fayette County.
Wow.
And there was no money for her to go to college. She had gotten a basketball scholarship, but her parents said, your brothers and sister did not go to college, you're not going to college.
Wow. Keep the
And-
family like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like that back then.
Well, let me tell you, she broke all the barriers.
That's good. Did she
She-
break a glass ceiling too?
Well, it depends on what you call what the glass ceiling would have been. She started a chapter of the National Organization for Women here. She went on then to be elected to the national.
She
and then-
crushed a couple
And
ceilings there.
then she was the third president of National NAP.
Name her name.
Wilma Scott Heidi.
Wow, you said it at first, but I wanted it back out there.
Wilma Scott Heidi was from Fayette County, and she went to nurses school so she could get a job.
That is
But
great.
then she went to college and got a bachelor's degree and a master's degree and eventually a doctorate,
What a smart woman there.
and then became a college professor.
Those
So
were the glass ceilings she knocked out.
absolutely.
You understand where I was going.
I do.
Thank you.
The other glass ceiling person was Eleanor Smeal, who was
Okay.
actually raised in up north. What's the town?
There's Wexford.
No,
there's
north,
Shaler.
north.
Those are
On the
Shaler.
lake.
Erie.
Erie.
Yeah, those were all north, though.
Yeah.
Just not
Yeah,
as
yeah,
north.
yeah.
Thank
Anyway.
you. You got to correct me. I was born here, so I know it.
No, I trust you.
Okay.
Yeah, those names are familiar to me too. But
I got you.
anyway, she was here because her husband worked for Westinghouse.
Wow, they were huge.
And then she had been with the League of Women Voters.
Wow.
And she was invited to a conference on August 28th, 1970.
You got good memory here.
There was nationwide women's events in
Right.
protest to bring attention to women's issues.
Sure.
In Pittsburgh, rather than do a protest, they decided they would have a conference.
Wow, I like that. Mix it up a little.
And they had it at Point Park College. They got funding for it. They brought in
There's your grant money at work.
a woman who worked for the auto workers,
Yeah.
maybe a union.
Well, I'm a union guy
Are you?
from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette and Press, 36
Oh.
years. Had many stories when newspapers were popular. We handled the last department bundles and comics.
What?
So, yeah, and we're going to have to cut this short.
Okay, well,
so
let me
get
just
your last
tell you
union
what they
lady.
did.
Yeah, tell me.
What they did. The first group of women, one of the things they were protesting was they couldn't get professional jobs.
Sure.
And one of the barriers was the Post-Gazette, because the ads were for men and for women.
I got a Post-Gazette story to interrupt you. 1986, I was on our hiring committees, and we had the Sons List was legal, nepotism, and we wanted to have women on there, and I was one of the first advocates. We got women, daughters on our Sons List.
Fabulous.
1986.
Fabulous. Well, what these women did was...
You can beat me on that now.
I can. And actually, the husbands of one of them as well. First of all, what was the first thing they did?
I don't know.
But the big thing was they sued the Post-Gazette.
Sure.
They sued the Pittsburgh Press
Yeah, that's who was around then.
for violating the law,
Yeah.
because they were segregating want ads, and the want ads would have the same description, except for
I
the
remember,
salary
I
would
remember
be
those
less.
days, yeah.
The salary for women would be less.
Yeah.
The opportunities for advancement would be less, and they won maybe they won the case, and
Yeah.
the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette wouldn't go along with it.
Right.
And so the Pittsburgh Press sued them. They went to the state court. It ended,
ended
it,
up?
it ended up at the U.S. Supreme Court.
And then what happened? Did they win the case?
The women won.
We're going to end on that happy note. I'm all about women. That's why we did this great event. Thank you, Pat.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
I salute you.